The New York Knicks have made multiple moves as the front office tries to figure out a way to get us out of this slump, and we got to break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Knicks Basketball 365. If you're a New York Knicks fan, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out a ton. But let's jump right into the news for today. Coming from our Knicks insider, Chris Persianen, Knicks assign Pacome Dadiet, Mohamed Diawara, and Ariel Hukporti to the Westchester Knicks, the New York Knicks G League affiliate per the team. Gets the sense that the coaches want to see these guys getting consistent on-court reps, even if it is in Westchester and not in the NBA. With New York's top 8 back, Diawara hasn't been as big a part in their rotation. Now, let's start talking about Mohamed Diawara. Mohamed Diawara was the New York Knicks' only draft pick in the 2025 NBA draft, and so far has not found a way to crack into their starting roster or really into the rotation at all, which is perfectly fine. You're a second-round pick as a rookie. You're not expected to start. Makes perfect and complete sense why Mohamed Diawara is going back to the G League. He should be developing. He is a tall forward, and he kind of reminds me of a very young OG Anunoby who's already a baby Kawhi Leonard. So maybe if this guy grows all the way up, we may just have an NBA superstar on our hands, which would be absolutely amazing. But can't get too far ahead of ourselves here. If you take a look at his statistics, you may say those are some small numbers, and that's not because the image is a little bit small. That's because he has not been able to crack the rotation in his, since January 9th, when we were at the Phoenix Suns, when we really started this, losing streak, which sucks to say. I know it was ended last night versus the Nets, but the Nets are a really, really bad team as well, where they are very young, not the most challenging matchup for a veteran team such as the New York Knicks are. But 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute, 12 minutes versus the Suns, and then when we have the Suns at home, 3 minutes, 8 minutes. So Diawara has not found a way yet to crack the rotation, which makes perfect sense. I'm not panicking at all. This is par for the course. Exactly what we were expecting for Mohamed Diawara when we drafted him, even a little bit ahead of schedule. I kind of feel pretty good about where he is, but someone who has found ways to crack into the rotation, Ariel Hukporti, is also being sent down to the G League. It is no secret when you watch the New York Knicks play basketball that Ariel Hukporti has some talent as a center, but he needs more development. We picked him in the second round a couple of years ago. If he wasn't injured, he was expected to be a first-round pick, so we got good value on the selection, but Ariel Hukporti he doesn't need to step up. We need him to step up, and whether or not that is fair to ask a second-year player to play real rotational minutes, I don't really care, because we have to ask him to do that. Right now, part of the reason we are on this losing streak is we have gotten inconsistent play out of our big men. Part of that is the strategy when it comes to limiting Mitchell Robinson's minutes, which is correct. We need him healthy for the playoffs. He is the number one difference maker on this team. The inconsistent play comes from the other big men. It comes from Guerschon Yabusele and Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, Guerschon Yabusele feels like every single hour he gives us another post or tweet or anything on social media that pretty much says this guy's going to get traded. And he very likely is going to get traded. Guerschon Yabusele, along with Pacome Dadiet, is one of our 2 tradable contracts. A contract that is not a guy that we need in a high level, not a guy who plays a ton, but at the same time is owed enough money where we are able to match the contract of a player who would actually come into this rotation and make a difference for the team. So Yabusele, extremely inconsistent play, or not really inconsistent. He really just has not been good enough all year. Karl-Anthony Towns has been what a lot of Knicks fans are pointing to as the problem for this losing streak. It was Karl-Anthony Towns and it's Mike Brown and the way they don't work together well. Which is correct. I don't want to pile on Karl-Anthony Towns too much because I feel like everyone else has that covered for me. And Karl-Anthony Towns, for a lot of it, deserves what he's getting. When he's when we were playing at Sacramento and he is not getting off the floor fast enough to play defense and isn't getting up to hustle back with the rest of his teammates, that's not okay. He needs to hustle. I mean, you can't ask a bad defender, which is what Karl-Anthony Towns is. You can't ask him to be good at defense. But what we can ask him is to give effort, give 100% the best effort that he has at all times. That is how the New York Knicks were fantastic last season. That is how the Indiana Pacers, despite having a worse roster on paper than us, were able to take us down in 6 games. That and Tyrese Halliburton is the luckiest shooter ever in that series, and then his luck ran out the next series. But Karl-Anthony Towns, he's got to hustle. Hustle has nothing to do with his skill level. It has nothing to do with how good or bad you are. Everyone can hustle, and Karl-Anthony Towns is an everyone. He needs to step up, and if it's not going to be him, and it can't be Mitchell Robinson because of his injury history / minutes restriction, one would think the next man up is Ariel Hukporti. Now, it is clearly not going to be Ariel Hukporti, as he is being sent back down to the Westchester Knicks, which begs the question, are they going to be playing Gershon Yabusele more to give him a better look and give other NBA teams a glimpse at what they could have on their team? Should they trade the New York Knicks something for Gershon Yabusele? Potentially, that could be the reason. I'm all in for anything that can upgrade the trade value of Gershon Yabusele into something that we can actually use. I want that. I know the New York Knicks, just like what feels like every single team in the league, is hurting at the big man position, especially for depth. So does it make sense to trade him? Yes, it does, because he's not playing well enough. But Ariel Hukporti is someone that really needs to take another step up, because we need a big man in the worst way. They're tough to trade for. Everyone's trying to trade for a center. The supply never meets the demand, and we do not want to be on the wrong side of the trade market when it comes to the 5. But just finishing off, the last name on this list being sent down to the Westchester Knicks is going to be Pacome Dadiet, first-round pick back in 2024. So he is in his second year with the team. Pacome Dadiet was a developmental draft pick from the start. A lot of people were asking, was he going to be a draft and stash? He wasn't. He came over from France to train with the New York Knicks immediately. He needs more development. Pacome Dadiet is a player that was drafted with a theoretically high upside, but so far, he hasn't been able to realize it yet, but I don't want to make it sound like I am suggesting that he's behind the 8 ball developmentally, because he's not. He was a player that as soon as we drafted him, we knew he was going to need time to develop, so we need to give him time to develop. The problem is, right now, we don't have time to develop, because we are, as we saw, we are one small forward injury away. Looking at Josh Hart, maybe even like Miles McBride, we are one 6th or 7th man injury away from our rotation becoming extremely, extremely shallow. And we need, in Pacome Dadiet's spot, we need a player that we can actually trust with giving real game minutes to. And through no fault of his own, he's a developmental player who needs to develop. The right way to say this is the timelines of Pacome Dadiet and the New York Knicks don't add up. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. They don't add up. We're not on the same timeline. That's why it makes sense for Dadiet to get sent down to the G League, where he gets the development. We don't need him in the starting lineup or the rotation as well, I should say. But all 3 of these guys going down, getting some more reps. Hopefully, all 3 of these guys can find a way to make an impact on the New York Knicks if we need them to. But that's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video all the way through. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. And go Knicks.